Alright everyone, I want to welcome you all back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2. And from the looks of it, we're finally coming to a head with this trial and about to see how it all comes to its conclusion. So if anything else guys, we're going to continue onward and see how it goes. Alright guys, and we are back. It is for precisely those occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie. No, facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious! Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all see whatever truth it is that you apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. Derosu and Mr. Derosi? An imposter. Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time. Objection! On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, that's right! We tell the same story every time! Whoever this man was, the capo dragged him from a pillar to a post with the dog collar. Mon Dieu, Peppino! I was not so harsh as you say, huh? So who was that falso inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witness encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson? Okay, see if we can pull this off. Uh-huh. No. Ah! Gossip. Take that! Goodness me, isn't that... One of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be a peddling hearsay to passers-by. Objection! What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? Ah. See, this is a man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking for a Twisted Lip League, no? Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Huh? What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Order! Order! Bailiff! Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom. Immediately. There it is. He seems proud of it too. Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him. Now, what's going on here, huh? I've always had this me. It's a birthmark, isn't it? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you? Aye, something about an inspector again? But I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it? Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, huh? Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're gonna need you to testify again. And you, Mr. Derosu and Mr. Derosi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We are in bigger trouble, eh, Capo? That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. The inspector and the identification revisited. The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. He's right, see? You think we would not forget these grand lips, huh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any red-headed league. I'm all alone in the world. Me. I'm no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? Just look at me, huh? Does it look like I could carry off a disguise with a face like this? It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man. What have I been telling you, huh? There was no need for this pointless testimony. That's right. I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I have come by a police inspector's identification books, huh? Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but... A brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief. Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something? I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, that word, man. Claimed to be inspected that day was definitely not this man. You'd think we would forget those lips. I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any redheaded league. Hold it! So, you heard of the Redhead League, had you? You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, huh? It's my business to know what's going off in town. I sold the tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, I even got a sandwich to cough up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose if that counts. Who knows? But as you can see, my own hair is not got a hint of red in it. In any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me sidling off to some other part of town. Not sir. No sir, not likely. What do you have to say for yourself, huh?
Excuse me!
Mr. Derosu. Oui. Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's words just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day when I was looking for a place near the park. A small house or something. To be the headquarters of your Redhead League, yes? I visited an housing agent on Lime Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent. What? Mr. Gossip with a housing agent? Oui. He had some kind of contract in this, and they were clearly discussing terms. But, no, you're mistaken, chump. I've never left Fresno Street. Me. Like I said before. You've mistaken me for someone else. Someone with the same face. No, the capo was right. I remember that tattoo. He was paying the man with the banknotes. With notes? Like I said, that wasn't me. I was curious why this man with the dirty clothes had so much money. So I looked at the name on the papers. And what name was written, Mr. Gossip? No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But in fact, his name is Hugh Boone. Huh? It's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see? No! Oh, so he's Hugh Boone. I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like folk talking about my personal life. Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of witnesses. Very well, I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objections. Yes, objection. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case. Good gracious! Do you similarly object, Prosecutor Asogi? As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings. Well, I never! In what capacity? You're a judge and you don't remember? Hugh Boone. The name of the leaseholder of the room. Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. I suggest, sir, that you start talking. Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, So your real name is Hugh Boone. Well, just between us, I don't like to blow me own trumpet, but there's no finer peddlers of tidbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford a grubby little room in a falling down backstreet townhouse. You do. And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. I remember now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time. If either of us is a vulgar, it's not a me. Think again, Peppino. Why didn't you bring this up before? It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as anyone else is concerned. No fuss. You'll update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone. If I must. So the leaseholder Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered has been here under our noses all along. I rent the room where that fellow was found. It's true. For what difference it makes. Hold on a second. How about objection? That last statement was contradictory in a number of ways I think you'll find. In a number of ways, you say. That's right, my lord. In a number of ways. Perhaps it would serve you while concentrating your efforts on the contradiction at the time, counsel. Ugh. I made a bit of a mess of that in a number of ways, actually. True, for what difference it makes. Oh, wrong one. I thought that was the 4th one. Okay, let's try it again. Alright, one more time. Objection! If you have no kinfolk as you put it, then explain why it is that among the sparse furnishings we found this photograph in the room. I presume as you've been renting the room that this photograph belongs to you, does it not? Oh, well... Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are. I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother me. Please, just leave it alone. As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson. Objection! How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features. Objection! But what if we were to look at this the other way around? What do you mean? Yes, counsel, what do you mean? Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. Then, hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an entirely, utterly impenetrable disguise. When you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone. Good witness! Are you still hiding the truth from this court? If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be... Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court. No. Please. No. Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes simply by the name of Gossip on the street? Oh, I passed it. I know who it is. Hold on, I found it before. Daily Vigil. Take that! Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil. Ah! I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Erlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact, this is Mrs. Vigil. What? From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed League men. And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we've been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we need to know where we could find you, of course. And that explains why you're not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry waiting for you at the Vigil residence. Now, you just hold on a minute. I don't have the first idea what I'm talking about. Really. It's a simple enough matter to confirm your suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise. No! Please! Bailiff! Bring soap and sponge and a wash bowl at once. Mr. Derosu and Mr. Derosi, you will restrain the witness. Oui, my lord. Si, my lord. Ah! No! Stop! Get off! Don't! There you are. Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume. Well, how did you dress up so fine now? Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face. It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witness, tell the court, have you seen this man before? I don't believe it, but... See, there is no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park. Extraordinary! Hold on a second. Messed up on that one. On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Grayson who appeared before Mr. Derosu and Mr. Derosi in the park was you disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why? You would quite possibly have become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street? Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years? I'm really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am Daily Vigil. Daily Vigil. And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago? So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented. Well, evidently there is a great deal under the surface here. I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment at Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation, one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street. But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you are a chief warder at Barclay Prison. I was utterly determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I've never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street. The scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine. I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place? I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. Without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them. So instead, you decided to conceal your occupation from them? Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment. That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson. What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth? It was some years after I invented Boone and begun my other life as a street seller. The inspector that is, recognized me one day. Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours? I knew him from my time at working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, he asked me if I could carry out a secret assignment for him. A secret? What was it? I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him? We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. Visit Orsi's tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress. It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression to let people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he compensated me financially. A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification to your care with intent to deceive? That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense. But why? What was the point of you impersonating him? I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if, well, if I end up a croaker. In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my Boone disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away. Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case. Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asugi. My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered, at the hands of these 2 Red-Headed League men when they imprisoned the inspector. But no! That can't be! After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day, it was me! Oh goodness! Finally, we have clarity. We've had nothing to do with this murder of the inspector. Man, it's hard doing these accents. I'm butchering it completely, guys, so I apologize, but I'm having fun with it. And merci Monsieur de la Defense for proving it. What? Order! 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 Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim, as proven somewhat ironically by the defense. Ugh. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Pardon me, my lord. Oh, I passed that. Hold on. What was that? But with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness. Kazuma. What question, counsel? It concerns the event of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time. 10 years ago? The execution of the professor? Genshin Asogi? I want to know exactly what your involvement was. Oh! Answer me, man. One moment, counsel. Is this related to the current case? Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked. Does the defense concur, counsel? Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm and collected as usual. Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asogi's last moments to his own father. I know. I do understand that. But even so... Prosecutor Asogi. Do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me. Please. Very well, then the defense has no objection. I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness. Alright guys, I'm going to have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. Looks like this trial is coming to a head, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes to an end. So with all that said guys, thank you again. Until the next one.